So one of the more annoying failures on your motorbike is the battery failing, because it will happen pretty much to all batteries, and sometimes it can be a little bit unpredictable when it's actually going to occur. Last week I got all my gear on, pushed the bike outside, I pumped up the tyres, checked the chain, re-lubricated it after the winter, and I just fixed my brakes, ready to take it down to the coast, and it wouldn't start at all. Literally turned it on, the lights came on fine. The instrument cluster all lit up, but then nothing. So I did some voltage checks on the battery, and it seemed like that was the issue. I leave mine plugged into an Optimate all the time. That's supposed to condition the battery, prolong its life, and make sure it's always ready to start if you leave it for a few weeks. So it had been plugged in, but it wouldn't start at all. So there's the Optimate. So that just plugs into the bike and connects directly to the battery through this little connector here. So I put it back on the Optimate. It went through a test cycle and then a save cycle, but it didn't save it. It only turned the engine over twice, and then it just stopped again. So the battery's dead. I don't know when it was put in. There's no record in my service book of the battery ever being changed, so it's possible that is the original one. It seems a bit unlikely, but possibly. Having the smart charger means it's always ready to go when you need it, but on the downside it might mean that you might not recognise any early signs of failure, such as headlights dimming or it being a little bit slower to turn over. The good news is it's quite an easy job to replace it. All you need is a new battery and a screwdriver. I also use a multimeter as well, just to do some checks and make sure there's no underlying problems around the battery. Some people recommend putting in a lithium battery. I've heard a lot of good things about these. They save a little bit of weight and they're meant to hold their charge a little bit longer. The replacement lead acid batteries are around about £40. The lithium battery is closer to about £100. Additionally, that would mean my £80 Optimate was useless, because you can't plug that into a lithium battery. I'd also need to spend £100 on a lithium compatible Optimate. All in all, it would cost me about £200 extra to put lithium in here rather than just a replacement like for like lead acid. So that's what I went for. If you've put a lithium battery in, let me know whether it's worth it, so I can consider it maybe for next time or for future bikes. So the first job is just to take the seat off. If you haven't done it already, I'd recommend just checking the battery with your multimeter and seeing what the voltage reading is. So just change your multimeter to volts DC to the correct range. In this case it will be 20 volts, as we're expecting about 12 volts to come off the battery. Okay, so it doesn't actually matter which way round these go. You'll just get a negative reading if you get them the wrong way. But anyway, positive on here, the negative. So we can see that's coming out about 11.4. Usually for a healthy battery you'd expect that to be in the upper 12s, maybe 12.6, 12.7. If it's partially discharged you might see, I don't know, 12.2, 12.3. When it's coming in at the mid to low 11s, that probably means you can't charge it. It probably means the battery's completely dead, and in this case it does. So to remove the battery, just get your screwdriver, take the negative lead off first. And the reason for taking the negative off first is if you were to take the positive off first and then drop your tool and accidentally touch a bit of the bodywork, which is earthed, you've then got a direct connection between the negative and the positive. So essentially you're short-circuiting the battery. If you do it the other way around, it's not such an issue. Obviously following best practice, I'm using an electrical screwdriver, so that hopefully wouldn't have been an issue anyway, but I'm still going to do it the correct way around. You can see I've got two connections here. One of them is the Optimate lead, and the other one is the actual bike's power terminals. Lift it out. Easy as that. So the new battery comes with some new screws. Just the positive connection protected. So just fit the new one in. There's no other restraints on this. make sure it's sitting in there snugly. Before starting to connect it all up, I just give the new battery a quick test, just to make sure it's not dead on arrival. Okay, 12.52, so that should be fine. So when you connect it back up, make sure you do it the opposite way from how you took it off. So connect the positive first and then the negative. Just put the new screw in. Okay, make sure that's all nice and snug and that the positive can't go anywhere near the casing. So theoretically that's all that's needed. Hopefully it'll start. So one last thing, while it's running, check the voltage again. So you should see about 14 and a bit volts to make sure the alternator's working. So you saw 14.1 volts there, which means that the alternator's working fine, it's charging up okay, so when I next go for a ride, the battery's not going to be dying, it's going to be charging itself up. So I'll put the seat back on, put it back on the Optimate, and it's ready to ride. So you can see that the Optimate's just charging that now back up to probably 12.8, 12.9 volts. So that's all there is to it. I'll be just checking the Optimate's display over the next few weeks, and I'll also be checking the voltage to make sure that this new battery is holding up its charge much better. But on the whole, I'm not too worried about it. I'll also note it in the service book. I might even write it on the battery to show when I last change it so I don't forget. And if I am going on a big trip or anything like that, and it's been, I don't know, say 4 or 5 years, I'd probably consider just putting a new one in just to make sure it doesn't fail on me on the road. If you know of a way to monitor the battery and prevent unexpected failures, please let me know. My previous battery, to me it seemed completely fine. The voltages actually didn't seem too abnormal until literally 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden it wouldn't start at all and the voltage was reading very low. So yeah, nice easy job, and hopefully once the rain stops I can get out and ride a bit more.